Hello, you're with India Post Live. I'm Ishan, and today we are talking about the Toffee model of politics. Well, what exactly it is? Rahul Gandhi said so. He's claiming that Gujarat land there has been given away at the rate even cheaper than toffees. So let's take you through that story first.
BJP started Chai Par Charcha, or chat over a cup of tea, to promote Narendra Modi's pro-development outreach. But his adversary has now responded by throwing back a toffee at him. Congress's Rahul Gandhi hit out at Modi's crony capitalism by targeting industrial house, the Adani Group. He termed the much-hyped Gujarat model as a toffee model.
भैया आजकल टॉफी कितने की आती है? 1 रुपए की ना. गुजरात में भैया अदानी जी को 1 रुपए का 1 मीटर जमीन मिलता है. गुजरात मॉडल नहीं है ये, टॉफी मॉडल है.
Rahul alleged Modi had given away prime land to Adanis at rupees 1 per square meter 10 years ago. Incensed at the attack, Modi called Rahul a child who is yet to mature.
मेले में छोटे बच्चे आते हैं ना, गुब्बारे खरीदते हैं ना, अच्छा गुब्बारे के लिए झगड़ा करते हैं, तो 10 दिन तक वो गुब्बारा 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 करते रहे. तो 10 दिन के बाद अभी उन्होंने कल से टॉफी पकड़ी है.
He claims that the Gujarat government has won many toffees, aka trophies, from the same model, which includes the United Nations and the government of India itself. But that still doesn't answer why Adani got government land almost free. Though BJP may claim that Modi's chai is a huge success, but Rahul's toffee has definitely added more sugar to it. And it takes no time for too much of sugar to turn the tasty chai bitter.
All right, so what do you think about this latest controversy about the Toffee model versus the Gujarat model of development? To discuss that, we have with us in the studio Mr. Vinod Sharma. He's, of course, the political editor of the Hindustan Times and has been an observer forever of Indian politics and has written so many seminal works. And Mr. Venkatesh Ramakrishnan, he's a deputy editor with the Hindi newspaper, and he, of course, has also been covering Indian politics forever. So, Vinod, so I'll start with you. What do you make of this latest controversy of toffees and balloons?
No, you see, in politics, you have to sort of oversimplify things for reaching the message to the people. Indeed, this is an oversimplification of what has come to be known as crony capital. But it has been delivered in a language which will be understood by the people. It's very important in politics. Say, for instance, when Lalu Yadav came out of the jail, and he was asked a question, how will you do politics coming out of the jail? He says even Lord Krishna was born in jail. Now, one single sentence, and he connects with his own constituency of Yadavas. Similarly, Mr. Narendra Modi, when he went to Bihar, he said that I come from the land of Dwarka, where Lord Krishna went after his birth. So I think that, at times mythology, at times a bit of storytelling, a bit of imagery which is understandable to the people helps in reaching the message. You see, the days of oratorical skills, impressing the people are perhaps over, almost over, because we don't really have any great orators in Indian politics today. After people like Mr. Vajpayee, or to some extent, one name that comes to my mind, Arif Muhammad Khan used to be a great public orator, Sushma Swaraj, for instance. But even Modi, as Uma Bharti pointed out, by the standards of the Sangha Parivar, the kind of orators they have produced is not a great orator. So now it is the age for communicators. And people love communicating with their leaders, engaging with them. This is something which Zulfikar Ali Bhutto used to do. When he was at his prime in Pakistan, I remember as a young child, I've seen his speeches during my stay in Amritsar on television. And, he would, there was one public meeting where people started shouting slogans against him and started disturbing his meeting. And he says, if these people continue to disturb and others allow them to continue to disturb, I will not continue with my speech. So there was silence. And again there was pell-mell, there was trouble. So he just said, he turned his back and said, "Jao, main tumse baat nahi karta." He would also burst into abuses at time, and people used to accept it. So, but then it all depends on how much of clout do you carry with the audience, and what kind of image do you have in amongst them. I think this is the fascinating aspect of Indian political discourse. It should continue, short of explicit. I mean, one shouldn't be abusive. One shouldn't say things, which hurt or which make communities, get disaffected with each other.
Right. Venkatesh, but has the imagery, the message behind the imagery, has it gone through to the masses? Do you think that the message of crony capitalism as the Gujarat model of development, that has become a part of the political discourse
Well, I
right
think
now?
I would see two things in this. I mean, Vinod has very clearly put the communication skills dimension of this is kind of succinctly captured it and put it across. But beyond that, I would see two things. And in terms of larger politics, I see two things. One is Congress was fighting shy of raising this crony capitalism issue. If you look at Congress' own track record of the last 5 years, they have always been on the back foot while answering questions related to crony capitalism because they have got a lot of skeletons in their cupboard themselves. But the way this whole issue has come up at this point of time, I mean, especially in relation to Adani's and also in relation to Reliance, and how the way the Aam Aadmi Party has been able to, kind of bring it to the forefront of the political discourse. Congress has been forced to bring it as part of their political agenda and campaign discourse. And I think, as far as imagery goes, Rahul Gandhi has been able to put it in a way that communicates to the people. But whether ultimately it will carry conviction among the electorate is a different matter altogether.
As the cliche goes, only time will tell. But you too can join in this conversation. If you have a question or query for our experts, you want to find out more about the Toffee model or the Gujarat model of development, do write into us. India Post Live is, of course, India's first online news conversation web portal, web TV, and you can participate via Skype, or you can log in via our website, indiapostlive.com, and post your comments over there. And you can also use Twitter, hashtag India Post Live to your tweets, or use our Twitter handle at India Post Live. We also have with us from the BJP, Mr. Sanjeev Singh. He joins us live from Lucknow, and he's a member of the National Executive and is, of course, right now in charge of the BJP's communications in Uttar Pradesh. But Sanjeev, explain the Toffee model of development. Do you agree? What do you have to say about that charge? Because it really debunks the whole development plank that the BJP has been on.
As they say, proof of pudding is in eating. And last 3 terms, Gujarat voters, Gujarati people have elected Narendra Bhai. That is clearly a validation of the Gujarat model, development model, which is directly applicable to them. So as I say, Gujaratis have been electing Narendra Bhai for last 3 terms. So it clearly shows what he is doing is going down pretty well with them.
All right, but the charge of crony capitalism, do you think it would stick, Vinod, in your experience?
You see, as you pointed out, the singular contribution of Arvind Kejriwal, and I'm not a great admirer of Arvind Kejriwal. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the total lack of respect for his adversaries that he often demonstrates. But at the same time, one must admit that he has put in public domain certain issues that political parties and leaders were fighting shy of discussing. And I think those issues are crucial for our country, regardless of which party you belong. We have to discuss those issues. Gopal Krishna Gandhi has said today, he said that, that the Reliance is a law unto itself. I mean, they have said it. He said it. No, you can't be questioning that man. I mean, he has the wisdom and the installed capacity to comment on those issues. At the same time, he's called the CBI. He's rubbished the CBI at their own function, Kohli Memorial Lecture. I think, as Justice Karju had the same problem, he would say the right thing, maybe the wrong manner, like Arvind Kejriwal, But, the substance of what they were saying made a lot of sense to me as a citizen of this country who wants his country to, sort of have wholesome debate, that people should go to the voting stations with an equanimity of mind. They should be empowered. The discourse has to be empowering the people. He used to say that, when Europe was, evolving from being an agricultural feudal society into a modern industrial state, they had such great philosophers, leaders like Voltaire, Rousseau, Thomas Paine, who wrote The Right of the Man, to guide them in the right way. How many do we have? And I think we have to, from within ourselves, create those voices, create those thinkers, put them under focus, so that this political discourse, which often, plummets to abysmal depths, there is some antidote to it. Because what is the takeaway from this election? After all, the takeaway is not which party has won and which has lost. The takeaway from this election is how well has this election empowered the people on issues facing the country. That responsibility, the political class is failing. It's failing in that responsibility.
Indulging more in rhetoric. Sanjeev, I want to come to you on that. It seems that the toffee balloon conversation, and we've heard a lot of comments coming out of Uttar Pradesh, especially from your party as well. There are a lot of polarizing comments. So the entire point of the conversation of development somehow seems to have gotten lost in this election for now.
See, we have been focusing on developmental issues right throughout this election, this campaign. The problem is, our rivals are clearly staring at defeat. So what they are trying to do is, they cannot match us on developmental issue. Look at the performance. Look at the
what prompted Mr. Amit Shah to forget development and start talking about revenge? So that means that your party also is not too comfortable with the development bank. They want to shift a little bit to, they would rather have a polarized community to ensure electoral victories. It seems like that.
We do not want to do that. We know that we are winning based on our record of development. Look at all BJP states. It's not only about Gujarat model. It's also about what we have performed in other states. Look at Madhya Pradesh. Look at Chhattisgarh. The PDS, one of the biggest programs, the leakage is only 2%. 98% delivery is happening to intended beneficiaries. That is what we call as the BJP model of governance. This is what Narendra Bhai refers to as the model of governance. This is what people are looking at. Not see, the national average for PDS leakage is 51%. So effectively, more than half of what is sent is getting lost in middle. So that is what Congress's model is. And looking at Rahul, once he mentions about balloons, sometime he'll mention about beehive, at other time he'll mention about toffees. I know he has a great penchant for toffees, but we are talking about real issues here, how we are going to take this country forward, and that is absolutely important. And that is what we had been doing all throughout this election campaign. Our rivals, they started hitting below the belt. They have started to polarize the issue. If you look at the issues during past few days, all of these things have emanated from our rival side. We have always focused on developmental issues because we have got good track record on that. We have got something which we can actually convince voters with.
All right, so Venkatesh wanted to come in.
No. Basically, he was talking about earlier, Mr. Singh was talking about how the people of Gujarat have given 3 terms to Narendra Modi and how that is, enough evidence to, to uphold his development model. I would like to take an example from contemporary political history. For 34 years, the CPIM-led left front was ruling in West Bengal. And every time people used to criticize the government of, including, rigging, the CPIM used to say that, that look at the way people have given us vote, look at the kind of mandate that we have gotten from election to election. And finally, it crumbled one day. And as far as Gujarat is concerned, I am somebody who travels in Gujarat, somebody who has very closely looked at the so-called development model that Narendra Modi and the BJP have put forward. And I find that, that even the Toffee model allegory is true. Because if you look at the experience of the Sikh farmers in Kutch, who have brought all the way from Punjab to kind of protect the borders and do farming there, 100,000 acres of land from these farmers has been frozen in the last 2-3 years, and they have been stopped from farm. They've been stopped the rights of cultivation, and all this is being done to give more land to Adani to build up his empire, business empire. So the charge that that there is crony capitalism at work in Gujarat, that is something which cannot be just repudiated on the basis of election results or some statistics.
All right, you want to counter that, Sanjeev?
Yeah, sure. See, look at all, planning commission, matrices where they have praised Gujarat on various initiatives, various central government schemes, Manrega implementation.
Left Front also used to get praise for its land reforms.
Yeah.
Left Front also got praise for its land reforms, Operation Barga and stuff like that. So you can't see it in isolation.
No state in this country can claim to be perfect. The idea is to try and reach that stage.
As long as one accepts that.
On that path.
Yeah, so if you're saying that system is not perfect, if you're saying that system is not perfect, and you're saying that is the model of development that the country should follow, Vinod sir, I mean, would you want to comment on that?
No, I say frankly, I mean, I tend to, I would not like to comment on the so-called Gujarat model or the so-called achievements of Chief Minister Narendra Modi in his state, because I personally believe, and these are honest differences that I have with that model, that one thing that pains me immensely in Gujarat, regardless of the level of development, and I view it as a continuum into the elections as well. You see, in Gujarat, the post-Gujarat, Narendra Modi says that he's given a great sense of belonging to the people of Muslim, to the minorities in Gujarat, and there are people like Zafar Sareshwala who are there to sort of beat his drums. I know Zafar very well; he's a good man, but he's one of the haves amongst the Muslims. He's been given prime land to sell his BMWs. In Ahmedabad. That's fine. That's his choice, his path, the path he has chosen. But the way the Muslims have been ghettoized in Gujarat, and they have not been able to return to their places, to their homes and to their hearths, it is, it is directly violative of the spirit of the Constitution, which envisions a joint electorate system. When you ghettoize a community and you stultify an even spread across the state, the kind of participation which should be there across constituencies is not there. This is my biggest pain from Gujarat. Yes, of course, I agree with Mr. Singh on Madhya Pradesh that Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan was the only chief minister who won on a positive vote in the previous elections. Neither Vasundhara Raje, she won on a negative vote. And I don't think Raman Singh qualifies a discussion because, the vote percentage difference was very thin, though he's won for the third time. And that is, commendable, no doubt. But Shivraj Singh Chauhan, according to me, was the only chief minister who won on a positive vote. He won on his own strength. He wasn't riding piggyback on Mr. Narendra Modi. And I think that in any political party, there should be a counter to any persona that tends to overwhelm everything around it, right, which is Narendra Modi today. Insofar as projecting a face is concerned. That's a very, very serious thing. Mr. Singh, he'd like to address this question, which I'm going to raise. You see, Mr. Advani once said that it's good in our country to project a face, because in the kind of literacy that we have in India, sometimes it is the face that conveys the idea. So Mr. Modi wants to be the face that conveys the idea of development. But at the same time, Mr. Modi is leading a party, and I know that he had a decisive say in the distribution of tickets, that only one Muslim has gotten a seat which is winnable, and which is Shah Nawaz Khan. The other 3, 4, 5 people who have been given, Muslims who have been given seats, are in either West Bengal, where they can't win, or in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what is his message to the Muslims? That हम आपके लिए विकास करेंगे, आप बाहर बैठिए. हम करेंगे आपके लिए. Is it not very patronizing? It is not very condescending. Have you given them a stake in their own development? You have to. You have to give every community a stake in its own development, Mr. Singh. I hope you'll appreciate that. And sooner the better, the BJP has to make a course correction. Otherwise, all this tall talk about inclusive growth, that I don't wear a cap, but at the same time I don't have to wear a cap to be inclusive. I can appreciate somebody not wanting to wear a skull cap, though a skull cap has no religious connotations in Islam. it is thing which is a utility cap, because you have to offer worship in Islam almost, going up and down, your body movement, and that is why they wear that cap. It is not prescribed in Islam that you have to wear this cap. So it is actually, unfortunately, it's become a Muslim stereotype in our country. Right. And I think that if Mr. Modi, I do credit him with some degree of enlightenment, that he could have easily worn that cap, and with this explanation that it's got no religious connotation. It is a headgear which suits the
right.
the way the Muslims pray.
All right, Sanjeev, I know you want to come in on this, but I just want to add a little bit to this. The fact is, why TomTom, the Gujarat model of development? You talked about Shivraj Singh Chauhan, you talked about Madhya Pradesh and other states. Why is it not the BJP model of development? It's become the Modi, Abki Baar Modi Sarkar and the Gujarat model of development. So, what would you say to both the charges now?
Okay, which party rules Gujarat? That is BJP. So it's effectively BJP model of governance.
But you're only talking about the Modi model.
Let me complete. We came out with a manifesto. Who headed that manifesto? Dr. Joshi, and all party people and also people from intelligentsia have contributed to that thing. We are coming out with a vision document also. Who was heading that? That was Nitin Gadkari ji, and everybody has contributed to that. So we are not the party. See, we clearly know, everybody knows this. We are coming to power on May 16th. And we have already prepared for it. The vision document is ready. The moment we come to power, we are going to get going on that document. So we have a clear roadmap of development which is there. This is what we call as the BJP model or the Modi model, or whatever way you like to put it. I respect Vinodji a lot on that, but bringing in that skull cap issue in this particular debate, this is not relevant. We are digressing from the main issue. The issue was when Rahul Gandhi says about Toffee model, can he, in the same breath, speak what he has done in Amethi? What is the counter Congress model? I live in Uttar Pradesh. I have been to Amethi. Roads are in dilapidated condition. People do not have recourse to primary education. The guy has been representing that constituency for so many times now. The basic things are not there in place at all. Compared to that, Sonia has done slightly better in Raebareli, although it is also below par. So what model of development are you comparing with our state models?
All right, fair enough.
This is my question for this.
All right, and I'll let you respond to that question. But Sanjeev, I'm sorry, we'll have to let you go on this one because we have another.
No, before he goes, I'll tell him.
Sure.
I was linking the development pitch of Mr. Modi with the inclusivity of it. Please, I think, with the inclusivity, here is a man who wants to be Prime Minister. And he says that I want to do Vikas. By the same time, his party, from a community which, numbers about 20 crore in this country, has only one candidate who's going to win. And Mr. Shahnawaz Hussain used to be made to sit behind Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, so that his face is permanently visible on television during direct telecast. This symbolism has to be shunned, done away with. You should not have just one, you should have 20 such people, because you claim that in Gujarat, you had won in constituencies which are dominated by Muslims. So why haven't you fielded one Muslim candidate in Gujarat? May I ask you this question so that we can tomorrow argue on your behalf? Someone like me could argue that, okay, this man is talking about development, and he's also given Muslims a direct stake in that process. You have not given the Muslims a direct stake in the development process, and that is why, in the eyes of some cynics like me, it is a suspect model.
And just to qualify this, I would add that this is not digressing from the discussion that we are having, because development, when you look at the development models, you need to look at all these issues comprehensively.
Especially inclusiveness. Sanjeev, just a minute, because I really don't have time.
Yeah, sure. See, isn't it a fact that the economic condition of Muslims in Gujarat is far above that in any state? For that matter, the so-called secular states. So this is what I call as the proof of pudding is in eating. So look at how we have benefited the minorities also. It is sabka saath, sabka vikas. It is not about pampering a particular community by giving them more tickets and simultaneously not doing anything for the well-being of common people of that community.
One ticket for 20 crores.
This is a whole other discussion.
Anyway,
we'll have to
we'll have to
let
agree
you go
to
and
disagree on
yeah,
this.
We'll have to agree to disagree on this. So thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure to have you, and we hope that you join us in the future as well. Thanks so much for coming in. All right, let's quickly look at what the kind of tweets that have been coming in. You too can join in this conversation. IndiaPostLive.com is the name of the website. You can log in and post your comments over there. You can also join us via Twitter, hashtag IndiaPostLive or at IndiaPostLive is our Twitter handle, so you can tweet using those. A lot of tweets have been coming in, but still about the fact that the Toffee model is something that has caught the nation's imagination. I mean, we're still talking about it, but the kind of cynicism that this kind of Toffee model portrays, and that is across India, sir, not just with the BJP, but with the Congress or with any other party. The fact that corporate India or some vested interests or some money parties are controlling the popular discourse is a worry for the overall democracy.
You know, Mr. Modi once quoted Mahatma Gandhi, whose advice to the big business was that the money that they have should be kept as trustees of the people, that the wealth they generate actually belongs to the people and they are merely trustees. He made a fleeting reference to that, but there hasn't been a serious discourse at all on what Gandhiji said, and I thought that still makes a lot of sense in our country. You know why it makes a lot of sense? In 2008, during the economic downturn, all our private sector sat on their wealth. They put every expansion plan on hold, and the government had to invest the money to keep the economy going. So, I mean, if the private sector thinks it is always for a win-win situation and that's not going to take risk its money to keep the economy, the country's economy buoyant, then I think there has to be a debate on this. Because after all, whatever their riches are, they are earning those riches from the people of India, from the Indian market itself. And they have a greater responsibility to ensure that the Indian economy, as much responsibility, of course the government's is greater, to be a partner with the government. Now, this Toffee model, it sounds cynical. We need the private sector. We need them to be confident. We need them to have an image which keeps them in high esteem and popular perception. But these elections, I think, have been most damaging to the reputation of the Indian private sector. And I wonder if tomorrow, if Mr. Modi becomes Prime Minister, if he becomes Prime Minister, and Mr. Kejriwal was to get up and say that I want to congratulate the Reliance Group for having become Prime Minister by proxy, what will be left? And you know, he has an audience in this country. You know, there's rampant cynicism. And the recognized political parties, because they have that architecture to convert goodwill into votes, that they contest elections more robustly and win elections. But there is an unorganized sector, so to speak, in politics, which perhaps belongs to the Aam Aadmi Party. I do not know what number of seats will they get. But the language he speaks is the language, and the sentiment he reflects is the sentiment with which a whole lot of people identify in this country. A whole lot of people. It may be a bad thing for democracy, for all you know. I don't know. I mean, one has to pass a judgment, wait a bit. But Indian democracy is at its crossroads, and I think the next government will not be able to do anything easily do anything which promotes crony capital.
All right. We also have another guest coming in. Mr. Praveen Jha joins us. He studied the various economic models that are being talked about in this election. He is also a professor in JNU for economics. Thank you very much, Professor Jha, for coming in. But let's talk about this Toffee model versus the Gujarat model of development. What exactly is the truth as far as these models of development go, and what suits India?
See, the first thing is that there's too much of hype about this so-called Gujarat model. And in fact, Gujarat model is no different from Maharashtra model, for instance, or Tamil Nadu model, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, there's a huge sort of cacophony where there is an attempt to sort of kind of pass it off as some kind of unique model and something which has done almost wonders for the economy of Gujarat and for society of Gujarat, as if in terms of the well-being indicators, people in Gujarat are doing extremely well. And all these claims have been punctured so many times by so many economists, and actually the debate has continued in some sense. Overwhelming amount of evidence and the literature, scholarly pieces, etc., show you that the claims are highly exaggerated in terms of so-called achievements which Mr. Modi seems to be sort of putting in the public domain, and to the extent that you can talk of something which is a corporate finance capital-led driven model. Gujarat is no different from many other states in India, right? So in that sense, to begin with, the whole thing has been a non-starter. And what amazes me is that it actually has caught so much attention. And this is where possibly the role played by media has been extremely important. In general, media seems to be hyping Modi like nothing, as if there is sort of nothing else happening in this country and so on. And that nexus needs to be understood better to understand this claim of so-called Gujarat model. So that was the first thing I wanted to tell you, that Gujarat model is as much of corporate sector, finance capital driven kind of model that we see in Tamil Nadu, that we see in sort of Maharashtra and a few other states in this country. Right? Emphasis has been on how to sort of basically sort of prioritize certain kinds of growth concerns, certain kinds of actors in that growth concern, and so on. If you look at social well-being indicators in general, Gujarat's record is possibly among the top 5. Sorry, I mean Gujarat's achievements. In fact, pale into a kind of a very, very pale story, so to say. If we are looking at Kerala and the achievements there, yeah, very basic indicators like child mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, and so on and so forth. So all these again have been well documented and so on. So to the extent that one is focusing on growth, many other states are doing quite well. The second thing, what you mentioned, this Toffee model, and I think that was a very smart remark. I don't know where did Rahul get it from, but what Rahul Gandhi said, in a sense, is spot on. That the way land has been gifted to some of these big business houses at rates which sort of are ridiculous. So in that sense, but I do not know, sort of going beyond that simple rate issue, if there is anything of analytical interest when you talk of the Toffee model and the Gujarat model. But certainly there is something to it in terms of putting one particular issue very sharply, that how land has been sort of distributed, literally distributed as cheap toffees to the big players.
All right, no, one thing. You see, it was not just the imagery bit. There was a second statement. After the Toffee model allegation, there was a second statement which said that the BJP earlier was the BJP of Vajpayee and Advani. Now is the BJP of Modi and Adani. So, you see, you get my point. So, he backed it up with a political comment. I think I'd agree with the professor that it was a smart statement. From where it came from, I wouldn't know. But same thing used to be said, about Imran Khan. That Imran Khan media perceived or had painted him as some kind of, nincompoop, And each time he would make a smart remark, there would be, on Twitter, there'd be all kinds of questions, including, hey, and they used to call him Dimim. May I say also that, you see, the media, which is of course corporate driven, and if we look at the holdings in various media organizations, we'd get to know from where they're coming. But I think that there has also been a systematic deconstruction of personalities in this campaign. All those personalities which are opposed to the candidate who's being supported by the corporate houses. Look at Mr. Advani. Look at Sushma Swaraj. Look at Rahul Gandhi. Look at, in some ways, Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi. And even the Sangh Parivar and the BJP itself. The deconstruction of anything which would maybe kind of neutralizing the persona of Mr. Modi. So he surveys the scene as the sole emperor, which is not good for democracy.
Venkatesh, is a coup d'etat by corporate India on India with this election? Would that
Well,
be too extreme?
I would not agree with the terminology. I think it's a sustained and systematic campaign which is acquiring critical mass now.
And do you see this, so Professor, if this model or so-called model, I mean, the Indian economy will continue as it is, we can expect pretty much the same to happen irrespective of who comes in? Final question?
You know, in terms of BJP and Congress, I mean, I do not see the last 20 odd years is any indicator of what differences there are. There is so little to distinguish and differentiate them.
Right.
Of course, Congress tends to be a little more, let's say, a little more concerned about those who belong to the relatively vulnerable groups, etc. And I mean, partly it sees its own political constituency there. But be that as it may, nonetheless, if you simply analyze the policies, yes, Congress has been slightly more concerned to, let's say, the bottom half. But otherwise, fundamentally, both these parties represent what one can describe as a strong commitment to neoliberal macroeconomic policies.
Right. All right.
In that sense, I don't think there's much to choose.
All right. Not much choice left.
I agree with
The final words,
Professor that you see broadly their economic philosophy is the same. It's just that the Congress is a trifle left of the center, and the BJP is sizably right of the center, both in terms of its economic and social approaches. And frankly, you know, I was in UP recently, and I was very disconcerted to hear when driving past areas where, you know, riot affected areas, that where one heard that the Sangh Parivar people went around asking for votes for Hindu unity. And now, and you know, if you read this together with their brand of Hindu nationalism and not Indian nationalism, which is of course inclusive, and you know, and I can be as much of a nationalist while disagreeing with the BJP. But there is no scope left in Hindu nationalism for anybody to disagree with them. You see the irony of it. So I think that there is a need for people to come forward, like Gopal Krishna Gandhi has done today. We have tall figures in this country whose voices are heard and paid attention to, and they should speak more and more and more against anyone who is on the wrong side of what is fair play. Right. And I think he has attacked both the Congress and the BJP today, and you know, indirectly, you see, and also the corporate, the biggest corporate entity. I think that we need more of this discourse, and we have to take the, you know, the patent of this discourse away from Mr. Kejriwal, to give it, to polish it and to make it more reasonable and at the same time more robust. You know.
All right, Venkatesh, final word, 20 seconds, we absolutely run out of time.
Well, you know, I think what Vinod said, the kind of social situation that is emerging in large parts of the country, I think what he has heard is a moderate comment. If he has heard about Hindu unity and Hindu nationalism. What I have heard is even more hideous. What I have heard is that, you know, from people, from so-called Hindu nationalists, so-called Hindu, you know, Hindutva, proponents of Hindutva, I've heard comments like, you know, we need to repeat what has been repeated in Gujarat. We need to repeat the kind of ghettoization that is happening in Gujarat. We want to repeat it at a national level. I think if that is what Gujarat model is all about, then this discourse needs to continue, and this coinage of Toffee model, if it advances the discourse, I think it's very important.
All right, on that note, we'll have to wrap up, gentlemen. Mr. Sharma, Venkatesh, and Mr. Jha, thank you very much for coming in. Of course, you too can participate in this conversation. What do you think about these models of development? Are they really there? And what about inclusive development? What about everybody, taking everybody together? All those questions still remain. Hopefully, you can answer them. So join in the conversation. IndiaPostLive.com is the name of the website where you can go and log in and post your comments. Also, you can use Twitter, hashtag IndiaPostLive to your tweets, or use our Twitter handle at IndiaPostLive. The conversations, of course, continue right over here on India Post Live. Thanks so much for watching.